So hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, please take a second to subscribe. It'll take you 2 seconds. And if you're returning, I really appreciate you sitting down and listening to whatever it is that I have to say. So today I'm going to take a little bit of a different route. Just because I feel like it's important to talk about mental health and talk about certain things that maybe don't get talked about enough. In addition to, having a healthy lifestyle, it's also very important to have a healthy mind and have healthy thoughts and, have a healthy heart. Everything on the inside has to be sorted out. And so everything in your mind has to be sorted out. So I'm going to share some things with y'all that are, kind of personal. I'm not going to sit here and give you my whole life story because I'm not going to do that. But, I have no issue being transparent with you. Most of us have been in, certain situations, especially as women. We've all gone through the same things. Our struggles as females are alike, whether we talk about it or not, whether we share it or not, that's another story. But a lot of us just don't talk, and so we don't get that chance to relate to each other because we're thinking that we're the only ones that went through that, or we're embarrassed or we're ashamed. But your situations and your experiences, they don't define who you are as a person. That doesn't mean you've been through some stuff. That doesn't mean that you can't get through it, and that definitely does not mean that you can't become a better person from it. Most of the time you actually can. I've been through a lot of trauma, childhood trauma, adult trauma, you name it. But there came a point in my life where I decided that trauma has no place in my life. It had no more, it expired. It had no place. I didn't want it carry it anymore. I didn't want to keep blaming my behavioral patterns on the trauma. I didn't want to make it responsible for bad decisions. So of course, once I made the decision to get out of my head and move forward, there was a lot of dirty work that I had to do. There was a lot of it was filthy. It was disgusting. It's think about the dirtiest room that you could possibly ever walk into, and maybe it's in your house. Maybe you have a closet full of mess, and it's just so overwhelming and it's so messy, and it's I don't want to even look at it. So what you keep doing, you're gonna keep you're gonna go in there, you're gonna stress yourself out, and then you're just gonna close the door, and then you don't want to deal with it, right? You don't want to deal with it. To that one day, when you can't stop thinking about it, because just because you don't clean it up doesn't mean you're not going to stop thinking about it. So you keep thinking about it, you keep thinking about it, you keep thinking about that damn room. And all you got to do is go in there and clean it. But it's hard to go clean it because you don't feel like it. It's too hard. Or you think it's too hard. So, you're talking yourself out of going there and cleaning that room because you just don't feel like it and it's too hard, right? So, but that doesn't mean you're gonna stop thinking about that room. That room's going to stress you out until you decide to clean it. So it's the same thing with us. Until you decide to clean up everything in your mind, clean up everything in your heart, let go of grudges, get out of your head, stop overthinking, stop with the anxiety. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep going. That room is not going to get cleaned up, right? But guess what happens when you go in there and you actually do the work to get that room cleaned up? No, it's not pleasant. But after you finish, you feel so accomplished and you feel proud of yourself and you can breathe now and you can stop thinking about it, right? It's the same thing here. Once you deal with your emotions and you deal with your, negative personality traits and, negative character and, your negative thoughts and just everything that is negative about you, you're able to move forward. And, this takes a lot of honesty. You have to be honest with yourself. You cannot sugarcoat shit for yourself. You have to give it to yourself raw. You do things as backwards. You treat others, a certain type of way. You have to, and it's actually more internal than that. It's how do you treat yourself? Like, what are the things that you tell yourself? What are your thoughts that, keep coming up? What are your reoccurring thoughts? Like, what do you tell yourself? Like, how do you feel about you? Like, how do you feel about you? Because that's what's important. How you feel about others, that's whatever. But how do you feel about you? Like, are you okay with you? Are you comfortable with you? How is that? Like, how do you feel about you? That's what's really important. That's what really, and I can't tell anyone what to do with their situation and what to do in their case. But I know that the way that I got over depression and anxiety is by really being honest with myself, putting all my negative negative flaws and, just negative things about me on Front Street. I also had to deal with like very harsh truths. And, sometimes people tell you things and you're like, no, that can't be it. No, yes, it can be it. But, people don't know who you are but So sometimes like things that we discover about ourselves are way more negative than those that people tell us, because we know ourselves and we know our thoughts. And the way that you feel tends to be negative. And I'm not saying, go around here like you're goddamn fucking fairy or something. No, that's not it. It's just that internally you also learn to practice gratitude. So no matter what the situation is, you are thankful for the things that are going right, or the things that, are that you're learning. You see what I'm saying? So negative situation, you can turn that around, take the lesson out of it, and you've learned something. So that lesson is going to help you later on in life. One of the best things that I could have ever done was go online and buy the book, The Alchemist. So The Alchemist is an amazing book. And it just talks about, what is a story, you can read the book yourself, but the main point of the book is how you can take something negative and you can turn it into something positive. So once you have that power, that shit is limitless. Like, you can take any situation and you can flip it to work for you. So you can take anything. You can take your trauma and you can learn from it, and you can share with others, and you can empower yourself and you can empower others, and you can motivate yourself and you can motivate others. Right? And all that came from what? Negative, turn into a positive, right? So alchemy, that's what that is. You turn something negative and you turn it into a positive, right? So one of the things that I had to do was I had to educate myself as to like what it is how was it that I could shift my thinking? Because I think that was the most important thing, is for me to shift the way that I saw things. So, that's when I learned about, the universe is responsive to you. The universe will respond to you. The universe responds to your thoughts. So whatever it is that you got going on in your head, that's what the universe is going to respond to. So if you're constantly thinking negatively, you're always going to find yourself in negative situations, right? However, it's going to work itself out, okay? It's going to work itself out. So that's how I think. That's always how I think. I always assume that the universe got my back and shit is going to work itself out. And you know what? Shit always works itself out. Stop worrying. Like, worry is a waste of time. There is no reason for you to worry. I know it's easier said than done, but it's really just a waste of time, because you can't change anything. And so, the anxiety, that's what that is when you're not trusting the universe, then you become anxious. Okay, so trust the universe. Trust that the universe is going to work for you. Trust that the universe is going to provide. Trust that things are going to work themselves out. Like I said, whatever the outcome is completely up to the universe and whatever it feels like you need. So if you need that negative outcome to teach you a lesson, so that next time you are able to change your actions and change your mind process to get a positive outcomes, then it's going to do that. Okay, so you have to trust it either way it goes, whether you like it or not. You have to trust it. It's going to work out. And so that understanding will save you a lot of time, and it save you a lot of grief, because then you're just like, okay, something happens, then it is what it is. And that's really that has to be your mindset, because you can't control anything. You don't control anything past your actions. Like, you can't control anything. You can't control other people. You can't control other people's thoughts. You can't control other people's actions. You can't control other people's words. You can't control none of that. You're in control of your own thoughts, of your own words, and your own actions. That's it. Anything past that, you're not in control of. So why even worry? Like, why even worry? Just, the universe will respond to you. Once you get in touch with yourself, and once you realize that everything that the universe is made of is what makes you, you'll see yourself as a powerful being. Like, you literally move the universe. Like, it's amazing. And anyone has this power. You just have to get to know yourself, and you just have to treat yourself right, and you just have to get to a level of understanding so that you can find a lesson in everything. Vibrations. People talk about vibrations all the time. A lot of it, they don't even know what they're talking about. Good vibes only. Yeah, good vibes only, but those negative vibes too, you need those too, because you need those lessons, right? So whether you like the outcome or not, it's a different story. Good or bad, something happened. But what is the lesson in this? Like, what is it for me to learn? So once I learn that lesson, the universe doesn't have to teach me that lesson again. I can move forward to my next lesson, because you're always learning something. So that's why it's important to learn about yourself. And so you can kind of catch how you react to things. And you can kind of catch your, something happens, and then instead of focusing on that thing, it just becomes too emotional. So sometimes you have to take your emotions out of things and just think about things like systematically, and just for what they are. Just look at the situation for what it is. And I think sometimes we just get caught up in like emotions, and emotions are great, but we just get caught up in emotions. But in all that, you have to make yourself a priority. Like, your health and your well-being has to be like at the top of the list. I know that sometimes it's like so easy to get caught up in like, the everyday life and just neglect yourself, but you cannot neglect yourself. Like, you matter so much. Like, there is no reason, there's no excuse to neglect yourself. Like, because that neglect is going to transform into depression, and is going to turn into anxiety, because you feel like you just can't breathe. So you have to make yourself a priority. Sometimes, like, as women, we just get lost in like taking care of everybody else. And I know it's, it's like cliche almost to say this, but like, you have to take care of yourself. There is no other way about it. Like, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take time for you, and you have to do things for you. Because you're just going to be exhausted, and I'm going to be real with you, it's draining. So get yourself to a place where like, you can, you see the value of taking care of yourself. You also have to get out of your head. Okay, you have to get out of your head. You have to stop overthinking, and just let things be, and just let situations play themselves out. Another thing that I need to add to is you need to stop letting go of expectations. We expect too much from us. It's important to realize that you cannot control people. So when you deal with people, realize that you are dealing with other human beings who have their own ideas, ideals, their own upbringings, their own traumas, their own perspectives. So when someone says something to you crazy, or they do something to you crazy, just take it for what it is. Realize that you're dealing with another imperfect being. And, if whatever they said to you, you're able to apply and learn from, go ahead and do that, and just let the emotions go. Don't get the emotions out of it, and just take it for what it is, and stop taking people so personally, because people are people. Another thing is attachments. Like, stop getting attached to people. People are people, and people are not owned. Like, you don't control anyone. You don't own anyone. People are to be experienced, and that's it. Like, we do not own people. Probably gonna make other videos and hit this topic again, but I didn't want to overwhelm anyone with too much at one time. So I leave it at that. So basically, to recap, like I said, I've suffered from trauma, childhood trauma, adult trauma, and depression, anxiety. And the way that I got out of that was, one of the best things I could ever do was just trust that everything's gonna work out. Trust the universe, trust God, and it's not failed me.